Desertification by Tyler, Leah, and Claire.
What is desertification? Desertification is the process of fertile land becoming desert. As desertification occurs, animals living in the area are forced to migrate due to lack of water and other resources. It is a huge threat to ecosystems everywhere, and regions around the world are at risk. As desertification continues, animals are forced to migrate and adapt to new environments.
The map shows desertification vulnerability. The areas in red, orange, and yellow are the places most vulnerable to desertification, while the areas colored blue and green are places that are not affected by it at all. What is the history behind desertification? The first known instance of desertification was the Dust Bowl in the 1930s. The drought and desertification in the Great Plains forced many farmers to move from the Dust Bowl to more fertile land. Desertification occurs due to a decrease in vegetation. This can happen because of natural disasters such as droughts, or it can be a result of human activities such as overgrazing and deforestation. A drought will decrease the amount of plants in an environment. Plants shade the soil from the intense sun, so without them, the exposed soil dries out rapidly. With the top layer of soil gone, the land can no longer be fertile, and it won't be able to support the growth of vegetation. Eventually, the land will become so dried out that it will be classified as a desert. Overgrazing occurs when farmers allow livestock to graze to the point where they damage the vegetation. This can occur if a farmer has too much livestock in a small area or keeps the livestock in an area for a long period of time. Deforestation is the process of removing trees and converting a forest into cleared land. Typically, this is done to create room for farming or housing for the growing human population. Both overgrazing and deforestation can lead to desertification because they remove and damage the vegetation that is protecting the land and keeping it moist and fertile.
Here's a video.
Who are the major players? Though there are many key factors that cause desertification, the major cause is overgrazing. To graze is when farmers let their livestock, farm, sheep, or cattle roam fields and eat the grass meadows. This seems like it should be a relatively unimportant subject because it is the main way farmers feed their livestock. However, farmers are taking it to a point where they will have their animals grazed so heavily that the land and vegetation can be severely damaged. Other causes of desertification include farming practices, deforestation, urbanization/land development, farming of certain resources, and natural disasters. When a new development is being built, most of the time companies will kill off trees for the resources. Though it is great that new homes and buildings are being built, the effect is that the land that was cut down by the companies can no longer thrive due to the lack of trees and plants, causing them to die off.
What are people doing to help prevent the issue? The Chinese created a green wall to stop the spreading of deserts. It is a belt of trees that stretches nearly 3,000 miles. In Sahel, Africa, villages are planting trees and using new farming tactics. They also found that certain rocks can be used as fertilizers, and women have started an organization called CARE, which plants trees.
How does desertification have an impact on humans and the environment? The process of desertification can force people to move to new land because they depend on vegetation for food, to feed their livestock, and to heat their homes. If land can no longer support vegetation, people need to migrate to a different location where vegetation is still supported. If desertification continues, people may be forced to relocate from warmer regions to polar regions in order to find land that is habitable and fertile. Also, desertification affects global climate change through soil and vegetation loss. According to an article published on March 16, 2018, called Desertification by GreenFacts, it states, dryland soils contain over a quarter of all the organic carbon stored in the world, as well as nearly all the inorganic carbon. Unimpeded desertification may release a major fraction of this carbon to the global atmosphere, with significant feedback consequences to the global climate system. It is estimated that 300 million tons of carbon are lost to the atmosphere from drylands as a result of desertification each year. This demonstrates that the excess carbon adds to the pollution around the ozone layer, creating a hole in it and allowing the sun's strong ultraviolet A and B rays to shine through, causing global warming. Without a protective layer, organisms are vulnerable to the sun's rays, which can cause skin cancer and other health and safety risks. Also, the ultraviolet light reduces the ability of organisms such as phytoplankton and plants to reproduce and may disrupt the reproductive cycles of fish, shrimp, and other shellfish. The pollution around the ozone layer does not allow glaciers to reflect heat and instead melts them. Humans will be losing 90% of their drinking water, and it will cause sea levels to rise, destroying homes. Lastly, it will decrease the ocean salinity, creating more fresh water and killing off marine animals. Here is a chart showing all the degraded land areas in Europe, Asia, North America, South America, Africa, and Australia. We will further explain this information in the next slide.
What is the solution to the problem? According to research done by the main causes of soil degradation by region in susceptible drylands and other areas, overgrazing takes place for almost half of all the degraded land area in the dryland, more than 474 out of 1,035.2 million hectares, which is a little less than a square foot. If the government were to monitor the amount of time farmers are allowed to graze their fields and make sure their animals rotate with the forage growth, the epidemic would be greatly reduced. Though it is quite impossible to get rid of the world desertification due to agricultural demand, humans have the ability to greatly reduce the rate in which it is happening and make our ecosystem friendly for the life they are hosting.
Thanks for watching.